Bump and Run with Bernie and Dahlby. Presented by Burrito Express, your local burrito joint. Now, here's Brett Bernheisel and Steve Dahlby.
All right. Well, since we've passed show 5, I've now had a sign company that is doing this for me. You can tell, very professional. This is show 6, okay? Just so you know, I'll probably use this when we're doing show 9 as well, but I've got the sign company that is doing this stuff for us now. So no more fingers, because I know I don't want to use 2 hands since I hold this mic. So this is show 6, Dahlby.
Now, when you were a caddy, when you signaled the TV, and hopefully you got to do that a little bit, you just used one hand though, right? Even though it was longer. So tell me about how that works.
I used to just yell, we're hitting 5 iron. We're hitting 5. Just hitting 5. Because back when I caddied, it wasn't like it is today. It wasn't like, the guy had the one finger down, meaning 6 iron or 2 up, whatever it is now. Back when I caddied, which was back yesteryear, we didn't really have that. And to be honest with you, didn't have a lot of TV coverage following the groups that I caddied. Now, I will give Judah credit. When Judah had a chance to win in Boise and had a chance to win in Louisiana and maybe in the Tour Championship, you would do something like that. But to me, Dahlby, my career as a caddy, I was always wishing somebody would ask me what my player was hitting. But back in those days, no, there was no signage or signaling to what we were hitting.
Do you think there were some caddies that were as nervous as the players today when they were trying to get to Boise on the Korn Ferry Tour? I felt like today I watched a little bit of golf, and I felt like the Korn Ferry coverage was much more stressful than the PGA Tour's coverage today. I
can't disagree with you at all. And it brought, and when I was watching this today, and I was watching Sims, and kudos to him. I know that you were rooting for Montgomery to get the 25th spot, and I don't know Montgomery, but the track record that you've had since I've known you in the last 4 or 5 years is that the pretty much people that you like, I end up liking. Now, a lot of people that I don't like, you like, but that's the way we differ there. But I saw Sims caddy get a little nervous, and you could see it just by his reactions and things like that. And back in the day when I looped out in that tour, a lot of the caddies got shit canned right after the season because the players wanted experienced caddies on the PGA Tour, which I get it. But if you're a team and you work well together, it doesn't matter what golf course you're playing, you'll figure it out. But like I said, back in the day, guys would carry a bag for the entire year, wrap up their card. And then 2 weeks later, they get rinsed and, they pick up a veteran tour caddy, which nowadays I think it's a little bit different. I think a lot of the players now take the guy that they've been with all year and at least give them an opportunity. But back in the days when I did that, a lot of guys got rinsed right after the season was over.
And there is this thing now where sometimes, especially the younger players, are taking a caddy that's maybe a friend or a teammate. When you were caddying, was that the case, or was it a little more where there was player caddy, not player / buddy / caddy?
Yeah, it was back then. It was more, he's the player, you're the caddy, you build a relationship. It wasn't so much friends and family or cousins or whatever it was. It was, it was guys waiting in the parking lot, and that's how it was. And, I as many years as I caddied for RW Eeks, and all the times that we broke up, got fired, quit, or whatever, the best relationship I ever had was with Billy Judah. And I will guarantee you, if we would have got our card in whatever it was, 2000 or 2001, whatever, I'll guarantee you 100% that I was going to the PGA Tour with him. If not, I would be in prison right now and he'd be in a coffin. But that's how it was. That was a done deal. But nowadays you see, like you said, more friends, family, things like that are caddying. It's not like it used to be where the professional caddies are back. Well, I mean, everybody's a professional caddy, but back then it was wait in the parking lot, wait in the parking lot, wait in the parking lot. If you lost your job, And today it's just different. It's all family and friends and whatever it might be. You see some guys out there, but you look at the good relationships that people have on tour, whether it's Paul Tesori and Webb Simpson, whether it's Shoffley and his best friend. I mean, you see that. And so and the reason I brought this up, or you brought this up, is the fact that I could see Sims, who had an emotional breakdown. I don't know if you got to see it on Twitter. Monday Q Info had maybe one of his best tweets ever. It was a picture of him realizing that he got his tour card. And the first thing I thought to myself, the caddy's gone. The caddy's gone, but I don't know. I'm not there. Things are different nowadays than they used to be back in the day when I caddied.
Yeah. No, and obviously different ways to qualify for the tour now, as opposed to just the old qualifying school. Today, these guys on the Korn Ferry, the tour event of the Korn Ferry Tour, there were different guys going for different things. So the top 25 guys on the Korn Ferry Tour points list now have their PGA Tour card for next season.
Correct.
The top 75 guys will join some of the PGA Tour players that didn't have a good year in Boise next week, in the Korn Ferry Finals, which is 3 tournaments where they're going to find another 25 guys to get their tour card. And so the guys that got their tour card today, congratulations. It's exciting. They still have to play these next 3 tournaments for positioning within that category, though. It's just not, the 25 guys today are 1 through 25. There's some mix and match as they play this Korn Ferry final. So it will be stressful for these guys that got in, but a guy like David Skins today, he needed to win the golf tournament. He entered the week at 46 on the Korn Ferry list. He needed to win the event to get to 22nd. And this is a 39-year-old journeyman who hasn't been on the tour. So there was I knew Taylor Montgomery. I know Taylor Montgomery. He was 24th, I believe, entering the week. He misses the cut. Unfortunately for Taylor, he gets to go to Boise next week, but he's going to have to play hard these next 3 weeks. He's number 26 on this list. So it's a lot of stress for all the guys, even who is Kevin Dougherty. He went from 78th starting the week. He ties 9th. He moves to 74. So now he, with his play this week, gets to go try to get a PGA Tour card.
Do you remember the story about that guy you just brought up? I think it was 2 or 3 years ago on the final round of the KFT playoffs, which it is now. He had a chip. He had to make this chip from about, 25, 30 feet just off the green. He had to make it to get his card, and it just barely missed. And they were talking today on the coverage that this is probably a bigger moment for him because what you just said, he now gets to go to the KFT finals, has an opportunity to get his tour card. But the first thing is he has a job for next year. I mean, he's got a place to play, next year for, anything he wants to do because he's fully exempt. But you go back to Skins. This guy was driving DoorDash during when COVID hit, because he didn't have any money. He had to support his family and his kids. He was driving DoorDash. So you're talking about a guy driving DoorDash to now a guy that's going to the PGA Tour next year. That's a remarkable story, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And that's like I say, he's a journeyman. He's that guy that has probably slept in his car at a mini tour event in South Dakota to just keep trying to play golf, to try to have this day today where he's now a member of the PGA Tour. And remember, Bernie, this Korn Ferry Tour, this is a combined season where this actually started in January of 2020. Then COVID hit, so there weren't any graduates last year. So this is the culmination of two years of work for these guys, and only 25 guys get out. I kind of feel bad about that in a way, but what a great day for these 25 guys.
Why do you feel bad?
That they didn't get to try. They didn't have a qualifying avenue last season. That's why.
Okay. Okay.
Now,
Well,
it
then
worked
COVID
out
is-
for some of the guys. I mean, it worked out for some of the guys on the PGA Tour that may have got some, on a sort of a wraparound thing. They maybe got better status for an extra season. I'm just saying, these are the guys that are out there chasing their dream, and I think it's nice that every year there are these guys that can fulfill a dream, and it's hard. It's hard, and I think for these 75 guys going to the next 3 tournaments, they're going to run into guys that they're going to run into PGA Tour Rookies of the Year. They're going to run into guys that have won tournaments. It's not easy to get out there. So, I think, COVID affected us all. I'm just saying for these guys, it was too bad. And it's tough that it had to be basically a 2-year season to get out there.
Have you named your studio yet?
No, I'm still thinking about it. I may move, actually. I'm thinking about a move to a new place. So, yeah.
A new house or just a new?
No,
room?
just a new, maybe a little new area. We'll see.
Well, take the clock with you, though, will you?
No, the clock may stay. The clock may stay. I may bring something else out.
One last thing on the Korn Ferry Tour. One last thing is that Ben Coles finished 23rd. He's played on the tour before. His caddy Hilton James, he's 80 years old. 80.
What?
We talked he's 80. We talked last week about I played with a guy that shot his age at age 80 last week. Yeah, this guy's 80 years old, and he's going back to the PGA Tour again. He's been out there before with Coles, but Coles is very loyal. But yeah, this guy is he's 80 years old, and kudos to him for. You talked to us last week about if I had thought about coming out of retirement. Maybe when I turn like 75 or something like that, maybe I'll come out of retirement and find somebody. I mean, I'm pretty sure at 75, if I'm hanging out there, I'm pretty sure every tour player is going to look at me and go, yeah, that's the guy I want right there, that fat guy at age 75.
I think it's worth thought and worth a comeback. I might start a little earlier than 75. 80 years old, that's pretty cool. So the guys will go to Boise next week for the Albertsons Boise Open. Then they'll go to Columbus, Ohio, on the Scarlet course, the Nationwide Children's Hospital, and then the third and final Korn Ferry Tour Championship is actually in Indiana this year. They bounced that around a little bit. So, like I say, out of this 3 tournaments, there's going to be moving around for positioning for this category, and there's going to be 25 guys that don't have their PGA card right now that will have their PGA Tour card next year, and it'll be guys from the Korn Ferry Tour and it'll be guys from the PGA Tour. So it is it's exciting stuff the end of the year with these playoffs.
No, I did say a second ago, last thing about this, and then you added on. So I'm going to add you one more question. You talked about Montgomery finishing 26th. He qualified for the United States Open this year and played in the U.S. Open instead of playing in a Korn Ferry Tour event. Hindsight's 2020. We all know that. Looking back at it, should he? I mean, yes, he played in a major championship, and I get that's the goal of a lot of players. But if he goes and plays in that Korn Ferry Tour event and just has let's just say a mediocre top 35, top 40 finish, we're not talking about him being 26. Is that a decision from a player standpoint? Does a coach get involved, agent get involved, caddy get involved, and say, listen, it's more important right now to get our tour card for the 2022 season, 2021, 2022, whatever you want to call it, than go play in the U.S. Open?
And that was some talk during the U.S. Open, and Taylor played Thursday and Friday a group ahead of Troy. So I was watching Taylor, and my buddy Cliff Vanetti used to work with Taylor, so I was kind of watching a little bit. And then he played with Troy on Saturday. So talking to Taylor's dad, it was a decision that they made, and it was a tough one. Taylor made the decision. He wanted to play in a major championship, and maybe it's the only one he'll ever qualify for. So I think, given that situation, I think it probably was the right choice. The year previous, though, he had played well in the tournament during the U.S. Open. So, like you say, hindsight's 2020. The big thing that would have helped Taylor Montgomery, though, was if he wouldn't have shot 77 on Thursday, if he would have made the cut, I think everything would have been fine. And I'm sure Taylor would have rolled the dice with one, if you said, hey, you've got one tournament and basically all you have to do is make the cut and you're going to have your PGA Tour card, I think he would have taken that chance. It just didn't work out. And I hope the next 3 weeks work out well for him. He's a good kid.
If you say he's a good kid, then I'm a fan. I mean, like I said, most of the people, or probably all the people that you say are good people, I agree with. The 6-for-1 playoff today on the PGA Tour was it was crazy because the fact that they teed off so early this morning because of weather issues. And you and I were talking earlier this morning. You're like, where do I find this thing? Where do I find this thing? And the only place you could really find it before it went tape delayed on CBS later in the afternoon was on CBSSports.com. So anybody that's watching this podcast, just know that if there's ever something like that happens again, you can find it on the internet. You have to go to your computer and find it, and you can watch it. And so I watched it. It was there was some. Let's go back to the 18th hole when there's 6 guys tied for the lead, and you got Russell Henley, who's pretty much been in control of this tournament since day one. Has 25 feet just off the back fringe, trying to make the putt to win the tournament, call it a day, and runs it probably 2.5, 3 feet by, misses it coming back. And I watched the reaction of the players that were standing to the right of him. All the players basically almost had their hats off, ready to congratulate him. And when the putt missed, you can see Kevin Na going like that and going, ooh, like that. And or maybe that was the Adam Scott putt, but whatever. But Henley misses a putt. That would have been the biggest playoff. 7 players in PGA Tour history. This 6-for-1 was six players to win the championship was the biggest since Allenby won in Riviera and beat Chad Campbell, I think, in like 01 or 02. I didn't watch the rest of it this afternoon. I don't know if you did. I just watched like the last 3 holes today because I had it on CBSSports.com. But that was a pretty interesting finish. And you look at a guy like Robert Sloan, and we talk about guys getting their card. Robert Sloan, who, 3 or 4 weeks ago in the Travelers Championship, after the tournament, was 154th in the FedEx Cup. He's got his card now. What a huge tournament for a guy like that.
Absolutely. And so, well, hang on. Did he? No, I'm just looking at. Oh yeah, you're right. So he went from 131 to 92 with that play. But the interesting thing, watching this morning, I flipped it on and I'm looking at just on PGA Tour on the website because I'm kind of watching the FedEx, the projected
Bubble.
FedEx things, and
Right.
Early on I had heard that Chesson Hadley was playing pretty well, and I know I like Chesson. He's a friend of Troy's, so I was kind of interested to see how he was going to do. And then, he's projected 126, then he's projected 125, then it's 127, and it just ebbs and flows. And so I do thank you for telling me about the CBS Sports when the playoff was going on, because that was it was easy to get on and it was easy to watch, and it was good coverage. I didn't watch anything after. I've actually heard Jim Nantz saying, well, now that we know what happened, we can go back and, kind of see how it all came about. Well, who the hell is going to do that?
Nobody.
So, nobody. So it was too bad that Golf Channel didn't have it on live. But it was nice to go to CBS Sports and see the playoff at least. But I was watching the FedEx, and quite frankly, Troy was at 68. He decided not to play. He's going to be on the bubble next week, no matter what. But it just kind of nice to have him closer to 70 or above. And so he was projected at 72 because Adam Scott and Roger Sloan were shown to have won the tournament with the projections, even when it was going on. So I was hoping for a couple reasons that that Scott and Sloan wouldn't win. It wasn't going to make change my day. I was excited that Kevin Na was in the playoff, and I was excited that Kevin Kisner was in the playoff. Shu, if you want to come on, we can talk about why I was excited about that. I was trying to find where Patton Kizzire was, but I couldn't find him. I don't know where he was. But to Shu, last week we did the Who You Got, and
We're going to do it again this week too.
Well, yeah, but it was nice that Shu and I had a chance the first week.
Okay,
and,
so I came down. So real quick, I'm interrupting. Sorry about talking over you, but I am this time. I came down to two guys last week. Two guys, Pat and Gazire, okay, who, like you said, he didn't play well for me. But I also, and this was going to hurt. My second choice was Russell Henley, and I would have felt even worse. My guy got his ass kicked by your guys. I mean, so you won very easy. I didn't have to worry about that after Thursday. But if I would have had to stress about, this big wager that we have, which is nothing, on Russell Henley, I would have been very disappointed, and you guys would have even rubbed it in even more because both your guys made the playoff, and my guy, finished seventh. So I'm glad I picked Gazire just because I'd rather lose that way than lose close.
And Bernie, it is interesting that sometimes as a player or a caddy, you'd almost rather that. I mean, obviously Russell Henley made a nice check, and the caddy would, but it's a tough one, right? It's a tough one to swallow. When you have that chance, when you're thinking about as a caddy, you're thinking about, okay, I'm going to get my flag, and then all hell breaks loose from 3 feet, and so yeah, it makes it because you look at Kevin Kisner, and he even said with a few holes left, he had bogeyed hole 14, and it looked like at that point probably he maybe sneak up there, but not going to be in a playoff. And he makes birdie on 16, he makes birdie on 17, and all of a sudden, second hole of the playoff, he's the winner. So it is interesting how fast things can happen and how things can change. In golf, it can be a change in a tournament. It can be a change in a day. But today for Kisner, it was a change in probably like an hour and a half. And for Russell Henley, it was probably the hard part when you short game, it goes fast. It probably all happened in 3 minutes, where he's looking at playoff, maybe having has a putt to win, looking at playoff, and then now you're packing up and tipping the locker room guy.
He could have lagged it down there, guaranteed himself a 7-way playoff, guaranteed himself tied second, which is way more money than 7th. But I give him credit. He went for the win. He might not have. That's maybe not what he was trying to do, but he went for the win, and it ended up. I mean, those guys have a lot of money, but yeah, when you talk about $200,000 or $300,000 or $150,000 or whatever it might be, and they're going to the FedEx Cup playoffs, finishing tied second instead of finishing tied 7th is a lot of points. I mean, that's a big deal. But we talked about Sloan. He went from 131 to 92. Scott Piercy goes from 126 to 116. You talked about Chesson Hadley, who shot 62 today, which I think I read correctly from somebody today. It's his first round under 64 in like 4 years, and he made a hole in one, and he gets his tour card by 1 point. 1 point over Justin Rose. I mean, that's pretty incredible. Then Ryan Armour moves out from 122 to 127. Patrick Rogers, 123 out now at 128. And then you have Bo Hoag in at 125, now to 129. You talk about the drama that was on the KFT Tour. There was also a lot of drama today on the PGA Tour. But I think once Hadley got in at 125, nothing else, nobody else could change anything. So it wasn't as dramatic as it was on the KFT Tour today.
Yeah, and you say Justin Rose is 126. Justin Rose is going to play on the PGA Tour next year.
Yeah.
And then and this is the thing about the Korn Ferry playoffs. So Ryan Armour's 127, Patrick Rogers 128, Bo Hoag at 129, Nate Lashley at 131. If these guys don't have some kind of status next year that, maybe like Ricky Fowler's 134, well, he'll play on the PGA Tour next year because he won the Players Championship within the last 5 years. So he already has that. So, but an Armour, a Rogers, Hoag, Lashley, if they go back to the Korn Ferry Tour finals, I feel like they have a better chance of getting through than the guys that have played on the Korn Ferry Tour over the last 2 years. And it's just that experience and that fact that they've been out there. It gives them an advantage.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you for a second. So you talk about like a Doherty that finished 72nd or 74th on the money list on the KFT Tour. He's excited. He's got momentum going in to where the guys that we're talking about, the Armour, the Rogers, the Hogue, the Nate Lashleys, are going there going, I don't want to be here. I've already been on this fucking tour before. I don't want to have to go through this. So I kind of disagree with you. I think some of the guys on the KFT Tour have a little bit more advantage because they're going up to where guys are coming down. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I think that I would rather have I'd take here. Let's say
I know what you're going to say.
Let's say Vaughn Taylor has to go back. He's 149. I'll take him over Doherty. I'll take Vaughn over Doherty. The guy that's won three times on tour, had a bad year this year, but I'm going to take him because I think when you drop down, it's almost like betting a race. When you have if you bet the dog races, when you have a dog that's dropping down, that dog usually has a good chance. When you have a horse that's dropping down, and these guys are going up now to maybe a little different level. And I'm not saying they can't get through. I'm not saying they're not good players, but I'm just saying that experience, those tour wins. And yeah, these guys are pissed off, but they're pissed off enough to say, you know what, I got to just go do this. I got to top 5 1 week and then I'm back out there. They'll probably have a better chance of getting that done than somebody that's so excited that they're just there maybe it's a great thing to just be in Boise.
And that you brought up a great point. I totally forgot about this. So, and I think when you said top 5, I think it's like top 7 or 8. I think if you finish like solo 7th or solo, it makes sense. There's 25 guys. I think if you finish like solo 8th in one of the 3 events, I'm pretty sure you automatically get your card, right?
You're going to have I think, historically that's it. Or if you, I remember my first year working with Troy, which is now, this is 9 seasons ago, he played the Korn Ferry, had to go to the finals. And I think he was like 16th and 18th the first 2 weeks. And then that was that was enough. I think he maybe just needed to make the cut in the last one, something like that. So, but yeah, a top finish is going to get you your card. And there'll be guys that, Vaughn Taylor takes 2nd next week if he had to go. And I don't even know if he does, but if he goes and he takes 2nd or 3rd, he might not go to anymore. That's where maybe it's like, God, I don't want to be here, so I'm going to just get this done and then deal with my ranking later. But yeah, Bo Hostler's 148. I'm going to take him over some kid that's its first time in the Korn Ferry playoffs. I just think that experience helps so much.
All right. I'm going to change subjects. There was an all-pro tour this week. I don't know where it was played, so I apologize for that. I don't have anything in front of me. Guy has the lead, final round of a 4-round tournament. They played 3. They're on like, I don't know, 2nd or 3rd hole. And they allow lasers out there, those lasers. But you're not allowed to use the slope, okay, on the laser. He was using the slope on a particular hole. Not on purpose, but on accident. I guess the slope was turned on. And a player in his group, and I'm not going to name names. You can go on Twitter and find all this stuff or whatever. And one of his playing competitors saw him using the slope, took a picture of him. I don't know how this happened. Took a picture of him. Rules official got called out, and the player was disqualified from the event. He was leading. Now, it was a $23,000 first prize, which is, to these guys playing on that tour, is a lot of money. There's 2 ways to look at this. Yeah, he was doing something that's prohibited in the rules of this tournament, illegal, whatever you want to say. But then again, you have, and I get it, because I grew up with a rules official as a father. Protect the field, protect the field, protect the field. My theory, and this is just me, my opinion only, the guy comes over and says, dude, you're using the slope, turn the freaking thing off, let's play golf. But instead, he calls him out, The guy just gets disqualified. Was it the right thing for the guy to call him out? Should he have done it differently? I mean, there's so many different opinions. What's yours?
Well, I think that if you couldn't use the slope, that's a button. That's a button on your laser if you have it, the feature. It's just, it's one little thing. And so you have to know that. You have to know the rules of the event. So, and I would hope that even if this guy said, "Hey, are you using the slope?" and the guy said yes, I would think he would disqualify himself. So,
right.
Yeah, but if it's a situation where I'm not trying to find this guy, I'm not trying to find a way to disqualify, but if I see that there's something going on that's not right, I'm going to mention it, and I'm not going to sign his card.
I think I was 10, maybe 9, and I was playing in a tournament in the beautiful city of Yuma, Arizona. And if anybody's watching this podcast from Yuma, I apologize, but it's not the prettiest city that I've ever been to. And I'm not afraid. This is our podcast. You don't have to comment at all. But I was playing in a junior golf tournament with a guy named Billy Mayfair, who actually played very well this week on the Champions Tour. And he beat me by 2 shots in the tournament. But he had a tendency back then as a kid to step behind his golf ball in the rough to where it went from a shit lie to now look like it was teed up. And I reported it at the end of the round. But remember, I was 10. Okay. I'm not 54 or 44. I was 10. I reported it. He got a 2-shot penalty. We ended up going in the playoff. He ended up beating me in the playoff, of course. I mean, I shouldn't even have called him, just moved on. My dad would have been a lot happier driving back to Lake Havasu instead of having to wait 45 more minutes. But I don't know if I did I think I did the right thing as a 10-year-old. I think I would, back to the laser thing, I think I may change. I think I would have just gone over to the guy and said, turn the slope off and let's just play golf. That's just me.
But what about those other guys that aren't using their slope, that are a shot back or 2 shots back or whatever, and they haven't had the advantage of that? Because that slope thing could make a difference depending on a certain hole, a certain pin placement. It could make a difference. And so I think as a 10-year-old, I think that's a strong thing to do as a 10-year-old, but I think that was the right thing to do. And, I think it probably was a situation where, in this tournament, it was probably the right thing to do. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do. There was a time, and I even went the other way one time, where I was playing in the U.S. Open qualifier at Phoenix Country Club, and I was paired with one of the ASU guys. Can't remember his name. He was a Spanish player. This is a long time ago.
Alejandro Canizares?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah,
there you go. So we were playing, the third was very slow. And we came around 9 and I think it was Canizares was playing well. And we were told by the Arizona Golf Association that we were going to be on the clock. And it was by far this other guy's fault. Okay. I played pretty quick. Canizares was fine. And I hadn't played well. There was no chance. This other guy was awful. But I went up to him and I said, because they said, we're assessing you a 2-shot penalty right now, but if you catch up, it's going to be taken away, which was kind of weird. Yeah, I know, it was kind of weird. But it was like there was a threat of a 2-shot penalty for slow play. And so I went to Canizares and I said, I've got your card. You don't worry about that, because I'm going to sign your card for whatever you shoot, and I'm not adding to, period. So in that case, I think I was trying to protect the game of golf, but if it was a different situation and I saw somebody kick a ball or fudge it a little bit, maybe on the green, move it around a little bit. There's some guys that are known to do that. That might have played well this week, but it would have, that I would say something. I would say something. Oh, you just got that, didn't you?
Well, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it.
So there you go.
Well, so it's not the proudest moment of my life caddying, but I guess it was the 1984, 85 Phoenix Open. And you were talking about this, so it brought up memories, not good ones, but it happened at Phoenix Country Club in the 85 Phoenix Open. And I'm caddying for a guy named Dennis Trixler, who I think I talked about him on the show before. And it's the second round, Friday. We're one of the last groups off because his status was horrible. And we're playing the seventh hole, this par 5, and he hits his second shot. No, I'm sorry, hit his drive in the right rough. And the rough at that week was really high. And we're having trouble finding the ball. And I'm walking through the rough, and I step on it. I step on it.
Oh.
Okay, so I step on this ball, and I immediately know I stepped on it. And I walk, I keep walking around going, oh, my God, what the hell do I do now? I stepped on this ball, whatever. I come back around, and I'm like, got it. And he comes over, and he goes, holy shit, this is the worst fucking lie I've ever seen in all the years of playing the game of golf. I'm like, yeah, it's not good. What was I back then? I was 18, 17. We end up making the cut on the number. Okay. I still to this, and I've told this story once on a different podcast by our friend Tucker Booth. It's still, it haunts me today that I did it and didn't report it, because back then it's 2 shots. It's 2 shots. We missed the cut. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. So I admit that I stepped on a golf ball in a PGA Tour event back when it was illegal and didn't say anything. He made the cut. We ended up playing the last round with Lee Trevino, which was pretty cool. But yeah, that's a story that I'll never ever forget. And basically, I cheated for my player, I guess. Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't say anything, so yeah. I mean, I guess that's the right way to say it. And the reason why we should have your dad on, because he could explain this better, because he's a rules official. But the caddy is basically, Bernie, would you say the caddy would be considered as a part of your equipment in a way?
Yeah.
And so it's like you move the ball with your foot. You're the equipment. So yeah, there you go. I can trump that story.
Trumpet.
Okay, so I am playing, and we had the U.S. Open, the USAM finals were today. I was trying to qualify for the USAM way back. I'm 20 years old, 22 years old, something like that. So I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I had taken a friend of mine who's about 5 years younger. So I was probably 19 years old. So he's maybe 15. Okay. We drive over in the morning and it's really foggy. Okay. It's really foggy, but they're going to have us play. You can't really see where the ball. First hole is a par 5. So I, nervous, I guess, slice the first ball kind of in the woods. Can't find it after 5 minutes. Okay. So I now have to go back, right? So I am now hitting my third. I get ready to hit my third, and I hit it, and the ball's up in the air, and I can kind of see it, and then it goes in the fog. My caddy was standing in the first cut on the right. Okay. He's now down. So I hit my third. He is now laying on the ground because I hit him. Okay. I think I one-hopped it, and he's down. So now I've got a 36-hole qualifier in one day. I've got a caddy that's 15 years old. He's been hit. But then I make So I make birdie with that ball, right? So
you
I
make
make
6.
6. However, I've hit my caddy. I've hit my
You
equipment.
made 8. You made 8.
Yeah, I add 2. Missed by 2 shots. And that was the
So you added the
closest
2.
I ever. Oh, I added the 2 because he was flopping around on the ground. Yeah, but yeah. So I that's my. I think that trumps your stepping on the ball. I hit my caddy at 7
It's the caddy's
o'clock.
fault.
Well,
It's
it
the
was
caddy's
foggy. He
fault.
couldn't see it. I mean, maybe it was, but he's 15. I mean, it's foggy. He can't see it, and now he's down. It's not, it's tough.
Did he
deal.
did he finish the round?
Yeah, he kind of limped around, but I mean, it literally, we had 7 o'clock tee time or 6:48. It's foggy, and we got 35 and a half more to go. Wasn't a very good day.
You know what? I take it back. It's your fault because you're the one that lost the first ball. You're the one that hit it in the shit in the first time. So maybe it's your fault.
No, it is.
But
It's always the players.
But I will. Yeah, but I'll take credit. I'll take credit for, and I did. I don't know. I don't know how much money he made on that tournament. I mean, we finished like, I don't know. Let's just say 60th. So he probably back in the day, he probably made like $800. He only paid me like $250, and he stayed at my house for free and dirtied up the kitchen. My mom's still pissed to this day about how dirty he left the kitchen. But yeah, that's. I mean, there's stories. It's like I saw a video today of another podcast, and I watch a lot of them, that talked about. So this guy, I'm going back to the laser thing again. So let's just say the guy really didn't know that he was doing it. Okay, and I don't know. I don't know the guy. I don't know the other player.
How the hell can he not know he's? How can he not know he's doing it? It gives you 2 numbers. It gives you the number, and then it gives you he knows. He knew. That's the other thing about that. Now that I think about it, he knew exactly what he was doing. DQ. Goodbye.
Okay, that's Dahlby getting pissed on the show for the first time. So it took episode 6 for Dahlby to really get fired up and pissed off about something. I mean, I can't disagree with you. And then there's tournaments, there's many tour events that have already offered the guy exemptions to come play for free entry and things like that. But I get. I mean, narking, the word narc, when you and I grew up, that was, you were a narc. You remember that word? I mean, and you don't hear it anymore. But yeah, Dahlby narked on Bernie for doing it. I mean, that's exactly what he did. And I mean, I don't even know if the guy won the tournament. I never even found out about that. But it was just, I don't know, telling on somebody. I don't know. I mean, it's the world's changed since you and I were a lot younger. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Changing topics a little bit, I'm looking at the FedEx point list, and I'm looking from 126 on. There's some good players that aren't going next week to the Northern Trust. Justin Rose, 126. Nate Lashley, who just won a couple years ago. Your guy Rory Sabatini didn't quite make it. Ricky Fowler at 134. Did you see his interview the other day after he missed the cut? Mm-hmm. Very strange.
Yeah, and I know you can't talk about this, but I can, because I didn't, as we talked about last week, I didn't sign the integrity thing on the PGA Tour, but I had a nice afternoon today, or morning, because they played so early, with Adam Scott playing well, and the U of A guy, what was his name again? Sabatini, not playing so well. I'll just leave it at that. And a lot of you can probably figure out what I'm talking about.
U of A guy. There are some good U of A guys, just not Sabatini this year. And he's a guy that's has been a top 125 guy a lot. But Ricky Fowler, 134. Tommy Fleetwood, 137. He played good early, didn't he? Played good early in the year, and then it wasn't so good.
Yeah, I think he had some injuries, and he hasn't played much. I mean, it's when you try to balance. I mean, you okay. So there's a perfect example. You talk about Rose, and you talk about Fleetwood. There's 2 guys that are trying to balance 2 tours. You're trying to play over in Europe, because you want to be on the Ryder Cup or whatever, and you're trying to play over here. It's got to wear on you, flying back and forth from from wherever, Abu Dhabi or London or to LA. I mean, that's got to wear on you. And these guys are on the road so much. It's hard. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses for them because they're world-class players, Rose and Fleetwood, but it's got to be hard to try to balance a schedule that you're not flying from Phoenix to Las Vegas or, Dallas to New Orleans. I mean, you're flying from, France to Florida. I mean, I don't know how long that is, but it can't be a fun flight. I know that.
Well, and you think about Gary Player, who's, stated how many millions of miles he's flown, but even flying, think about flying then compared to flying now. At least there's private, there's first class, there's different things. So, but yeah, it's got to be tough. And maybe with COVID a little bit tougher. Charles Howell, 139, a really tough year. Francesco Molinari at 142. So all I'm saying is there's some good. Jason Duffner, 154. There's some good players that didn't make it to the FedEx playoffs. And then obviously you look at a guy like Chesson Hadley, who had to shoot 62 today, made a hole in one. And I didn't see his interview. Bernie, you said he was very emotional when they talked to him.
Yeah, he was emotional. I mean, and you look at the coolest thing about, like, and I'll talk about him. You talk about the KFT, those guys getting their cards and the players coming out and pouring beer on everybody. But to secure Hadley's job, I mean, you talk about whatever it was. He hasn't had a great year, but he finished second, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago when he had that tournament won. And I just remember the reaction of his wife, sitting at a table watching her husband basically throw the tournament away. And now for him to have an opportunity to, complete finishing in the top 125. I'm watching my dog go outside in the bathroom in case anybody wants to know what I'm looking at. He now has a job for next year, full job, play whenever he wants. But the emotion of him just, shooting 62, making a hole in one, and securing your card, it was pretty cool to see. Now, a lot of people know this, but I'll just reiterate it. Guys from 126 to 150 still have status next year on the PGA Tour. It's all prioritized by as far as like 1 to 125, and then you have your Korn Ferry Tour finalists. You have your guys that from the tour that qualify, and then all of a sudden there's the extras that are probably going to get in. Probably, you'll know more than I will, Dahlby. I'm going to say 9 to 12 events, so they still have some status, and they can also play even if they don't get their card through the Korn Ferry Tour finals. They can also play in any Korn Ferry Tour they want event they want next year because they have status on there. So these guys still have a job. It might not just be a job where you can pick and choose. I want to play in Atlanta. I want to play in Memphis. I want to play here. No, now I have to play in Puerto Rico. I have to go to the Barracuda. I have to go to the Barbazal. Things like that these guys have to deal with now.
No, absolutely. And it is hard. This is what's interesting with Hadley. So you said it was he's a point. What is he? He's got
1 point.
440.35 points. Justin Rose had 439.1. That was the difference in being 125 or better. Chesson Hadley birdied the 9th hole, his last hole today, hit it in there close and made it. Justin Rose on 18, and 18's a tough hole, but he 3-putted for bogey. And so if Rose makes par, he goes from T10th to T7th. That probably changes the whole thing. So there is so much that can happen. It is so close. And that is the one thing where, like you're saying, it's hard. There are guys that are going to just still have opportunity to play. There's just in some ways, there's not enough. It's just so hard to get on the PGA Tour. There's a lot of good players that just don't get to play. And once you get out there, it does seem like it's a little easier to get back out there, I guess you'd say, than coming off the Korn Ferry. And Bernie, what if you were 76th or more on the Korn Ferry? What is your status?
So you have status. It's conditional. So it goes just like we just talked about, the 126 to 150. I want to say it's 76 to 85 because I think our good friend Byron Meth, who was in that category a few years ago, played in that. But to be honest with you, you don't get many events. It's like the 126 to 150 on the PGA Tour. But on the Korn Ferry Tour, you don't get in as many because everybody wants to play because you have to go play. So those guys, 76 to like 85, it might be 90. Don't quote me on that, but it's one of those. You get conditional status. So you're probably going to get in maybe 2 or 3 tournaments, maybe in the whole entire year. But at least you have some sort of status. All right, it's time. Who you got? Now, embarrassing.
Where is Shu?
I don't know. You know what? We don't need him
There
anymore.
he is. Oh,
What's
yeah.
So
gentlemen.
Shu correctly picked Kevin Kisner last week to win, and I think that's that was victory number 1 for him. And I'm going to keep track of this, by the way. And if I start doing well, I'm going to rub it in. If not, just completely blow it off. You had Kisner. Mm-hmm. Dahlby had Kevin Na.
Yeah.
And then I had myself, and it did, or I had Patton Kazire maybe. And so congratulations, Shu. I mean, this is as hot as I've ever seen you in this. Who you got? I mean, you're 1 for 1 with a victory. I'm sure that you probably told your coworker Eric Cohen, who does that gambling show, that you picked Kevin Kisner, and he probably put money on it, or probably not.
I didn't share this information with anybody other than everybody on this show. I kept it very close to the vest. No, I didn't tell him. We didn't talk about it. I'm surprised. I was watching it throughout the week, and I was like, okay, Kisner's playing well. It looks like I'm going to win, right? It looks like my guy's going to finish higher than anybody else's. But then he's in the mix going into today, and I'm like, all right, if he has a good round, he has a chance. And then I started following it, and the playoffs started, and Dahlby and I are going head-to-head basically at that point, and Adam Scott misses a 4-footer to keep it alive, and then they go back to 18, and Kiz does it. So I'm a huge fan of Kiz. It's part of the reason why I picked him. I enjoy watching him play. I think he's a good ambassador for the game of golf at times. So I enjoy watching him play. So it was fun to see him win. And I've peaked now. Like the first time we do this on the podcast, I pick the guy who wins. Like I've peaked.
All right. Well, you're first up for this week since you're the defending champion. So fire away. As Dahlby, look at Dahlby. I love when Dahlby starts looking at
I already have it. I already have it. I'm looking at other stuff. I really am.
What, like your bank statements or what? I mean, what are you looking at?
I'm going to go back and tell you some FedEx stuff, FedEx Cup stuff after we're done with this.
So,
all right, Shu, fire away.
The logic that I used to pick Kisner was the last time that he played at that course, tied for 3rd, so had a good track record playing at that course. I'm going to use that same logic here for Liberty. I'm going to go back to the last time they played the Northern Trust at Liberty. That was 2019. Louis Oosthuizen is the pick this week.
Okay, so hold on. You're locked in.
Locked in.
But just so you know, Louis withdrew this week, injured. Now you're locked in. So you cannot change your answer. You're locked in with Louis. But I just want to. Okay, all right, Dahlby, who you got?
Well, let's make sure Louis is playing because there is one guy that's not playing.
Yeah, we in the pre-show we were trying to figure out who the one guy was. If it was Louis,
there's 124 that are listed right now, but let's just check. And I already did make my pick. He's not in. It goes from Carlos Ortiz. Right now, I'm in a. Maybe you want to recheck this, honestly.
I'm looking. I got the screen.
Carlos Ortiz and Brian, then it goes to Ryan Palmer.
Oh boy, this is be created.
So we can.
Tough.
Well, you can. I mean, he could take another pick if the guy's he's not even in the field.
Oh man. Well, we solved the question in the pre-show. We were all like, "Who's the one guy that's not in?" It's of course the guy.
And it's your pick.
Right.
It's your pick.
It's my pick.
So
Congratulations.
Take another pick, but Bernie, I think that maybe Shu should take who you got to his podcast All AZ Sports Bets, right? All AZ Bets
Yep.
on the All AZ Podcast Network. And maybe this can be a little part of it, like a little cross-training thing. But Bernie, I did not go back and look at who played well in 2019, but I'm going to take I'm going to take Dustin Johnson this week.
Do I look fatter in this podcast when it's the three of us? Does my face look a lot fatter?
So it's because camera's a little zoomed in when we go to the 3 box. Yeah. So
I just want to know in case somebody says, "Man, did you put on some weight? You look fat." I just wanted to know. Okay, so you went that direction.
Dustin, I did go that direction.
Yeah, I get
so
it.
I have my pick. If you want to hear who
hold
I'm
on.
picking.
All right.
No, you're waiting now because
Okay, that's fine. That's okay.
the
I
wraparound.
accept that. I accept the penalty. I accept it.
No. All right, he goes Dustin. I'll just get it out of the way. I got Rory.
He did, tied
As you
for
were gonna
6th
take
the
Rory.
last time. No.
Yeah.
I had another name. So I was debating between 2 people, and I picked Louis. Of course, that's
Take
the guy
somebody
that's
that's
not playing. Well,
Just take somebody that's playing.
I think this guy's playing. Now I'm concerned that the players I pick are not playing. This guy won the last time they played the Northern Trust at Liberty. Give me Patrick Reed.
Oh, Captain America.
Give me Captain America.
All right, so Reed, Dustin, and I have Rory. And I do look fat in this picture. I'm
All right,
staring at myself. And
I'll get
it's
you back.
disgusting.
I'll get you back.
All right, thanks. What else you got to add before we end this beautiful podcast, Dahlby?
Well, so obviously what we've talked about, and I think we've gone over this, we've got the top 125 going to the Northern Trust. Then, after next week, the top 70 players go to the BMW Championship. Now, coaches, players, agents, they study kind of what you need to do. Caddies, what do you need to do? So Troy right now is 69th on the FedEx list. So he is going to be a bubble boy next week in terms of getting to the BMW Championship and hopefully the Tour Championship. But we've done a little bit of homework. For Troy, he's got 700 points. Okay.
Okay.
For him to move on to the BMW, to have a chance, next week he needs to get 33 points. 733 would be to give you a chance. The median, this would be a better chance, obviously, would be to be at 775. And then a very likely number to get to the BMW would be 817 points. So with Troy, my hope would be that he would be in a tie for, let's say, 24th or better. That should ensure that he goes to the BMW Championship. The interesting thing, though, to get to the Tour Championship, he'd need, on that very likely side, about 1,400 points. It says 1,391. So at 700, say another 700 points. The points next week are quadrupled. Okay, it's not normal. It's the playoffs, so they quadruple the points. So with a top 3 finish, I think top 3 finish, he could be in the Tour Championship, and that's been a goal that I've talked about over this season. So that's kind of what we're hoping for. But I think probably if you ask just about every player in the field next week, they're going to have a pretty good idea of what they need to do. And there's stats guys. There's the PGA Tour has their shot links guys where you can get this information. So this was actually Troy's agent sent us this and kind of just a little feel of where you need to be. So it'll be exciting the next couple weeks to see who gets to the Tour Championship. I'm certainly hoping that Troy gets there and I get to make a return trip to Atlanta. It's been a while since I've been there, and I've got my master's visor on today. It says 2016, so it's been far too long since I've been to Augusta. So hoping to be there in April.
Congratulations on keeping the lid clean. I like it. It looks pristine. I don't know if you touch it up yourself, but it looks really good. So you got Troy going to the playoffs. You got Sean O'Hare going to the Korn Ferry Tour playoffs beginning next week in Boise, which by far is my favorite tour, my favorite tournament on the Korn Ferry Tour. They take care of the caddies as well as any tournament on that tour. So good luck next week with Troy. Good luck with Sean. Are you heading out here in the next couple of weeks? I know you said if you get to Atlanta, you're going, but are you going to this week or next week with Troy?
I'm not. High school golf in Arizona has started, so I am coaching the Saguaro High School team. So we're starting we started last week. We got our first match this week, so hopefully spend a little time with them the next couple of weeks, and then head to Atlanta. If Atlanta doesn't happen, then probably go to Napa the beginning of the fall season.
All right, I'm playing golf on the Pinnacle course at True North this week. I can't wait. My goal is to not embarrass myself as I have recently, so I will give an update on next week's show. All right, Dahlby, thanks. Schubert, thanks as well. Cressman, thanks. Thanks to Burrito Express. I actually went there today. I got 2 burritos. I actually I filmed it on Twitter. If you want to go to see Bernie and Dahlby, Out of Bounds BD. It's pretty funny. The guy didn't know who the hell I was, and then I had to explain it to him. I took a video. The burritos there are phenomenal. So if you get a chance, support Burrito Express, your local burrito joint here in the Valley of Phoenix, and also, and I'm still worried about that, but also in Lincoln, Nebraska. All right, Dahlby, for Bernie and Dahlby, have a great week. We'll see you next week on Bump and Run with Bernie and Dahlby.
Hit them straight at the pinnacle.